Talk Law Radio with Todd Marquardt is sponsored by the Marquardt Law Firm and does not attempt to solve your individual legal problems upon the basis of information contained herein. Instead, contact an attorney to discuss the specific facts and circumstances of your unique situation. The views and opinions of this program do not reflect the views of the Salem Media Group.
It's time for Talk Law Radio with Todd Marquardt. Todd Marquardt, attorney at law in Texas. If you're a millionaire or a thousandaire, Talk Law Radio is now on the air. Call in with your business law question, your elder law question, veteran aid, Medicaid, build a business to get paid. 210-308-8867. Or ask a question online at marquardtlawfirm.com. That's MARQUARDT lawfirm.com. And now it's Talk Law Radio with Todd Marquardt.
Welcome to Talk Law Radio. I'm Todd Marquardt. Now it's time to discover your legal issue blind spots by listening to me talk about the law on the radio. As more Americans want to age in place, there's challenges in home care today. We're diving into current issues such as workforce shortages, funding gaps, legal rights, safety concerns, Medicare and Medicaid, and protecting our loved ones. Special guest Regina Yockey, administrator at Avenues Home Care, is going to be with us. But first, let's check in with Joseph Warren, financial planner with Financial Planning HQ. He and Steve and Jacob are sponsoring the show, and we like to highlight some financial tip for the week. So Joseph, what's the financial focus today?
Yeah, I thought it's very fitting for this show. When you go to court and you're on the witness stand, they always say, do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? You've probably seen it in movies. I recently got a jury summons. I may be seeing it soon if they select me.
Hopefully.
But what I found is that a lot of high net worth clients, they really appreciate the unvarnished truth, and they don't want us to be yes men. A lot of financially successful people are surrounded by yes people. Mm-hmm. They'll just say, yeah, that's right, because it's less friction. It's the easy thing to do. But we found that really our value shines when we're helping our client avoid those big mistakes, or we're helping them to see things from a different perspective so they can get to their goals faster. Right?
Yeah. Tell us about a time when you had to tell somebody the unvarnished truth.
Yes. Time is flying, but back in 2022, you may remember there was an inflation spike. Inflation went to 9.1%. And there was also a little market dip that went along with that. I had a client who, financially successful, but was holding on to excess cash and was wary of putting it in the market. So our official recommendation to them was, the market's low, it's dipping, inflation's high, so cash is losing value. So go ahead and put this amount of excess cash into the market. But naturally, there was some fear around that. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of negative headlines, and they didn't want to take that advice. So I remember talking to the team, talking to Steve and Jacob, and I was kind of making it about myself, and they called me on that, right? Kind of like the Christian idea of rebuke. They kind of rebuked me on that. Mm-hmm. And I was like, why aren't they taking my advice? Me. But they told me it's not about you at all. They're paying you to help them to make good decisions, even when they don't want to do it. So it's up to you to get them to do it. And that changed my mindset. And I went into a meeting with them, and I basically showed them, if you don't take this move, it hurts your chances of being able to retire early. You may have to work an extra year, an extra 2 years. And I showed them the exact chance. We did the Monte Carlo simulation.
Yeah.
And they listened. I answered all their questions that they had. I made sure they fully understood. And they agreed to start putting some money towards the market when it was at discount prices. And now they're 1 year into their retirement, early retirement, with 100% chance of success.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
One thing I've learned from talking with you and Steve and Jacob is that having a financial CEO and a financial strategy goes a lot further than just investment management. It's really a plan for good times and bad.
Yes, I always think of the investments as just one part of the puzzle. And actually, I see it as kind of like the easiest thing. You can beat, I didn't really check the numbers, but probably 93% of active investment managers just by buying low-cost index funds. Warren Buffett's a big believer in that. The Bogleheads are certain people who talk about that. But really, you could just buy these Vanguard funds and just keep up with the market. So the investment part of it is pretty easy, right? What's important is really learning about everything that's important to the client. What is their why behind wanting to achieve their goals? What are their specific goals? What are those exact dates? And where are they now financially, and what exactly do they need to do? What are those next 2 to 3 steps they need to take to make sure that they're going to achieve their goals? Because it's one thing to know, right? We have AI, we have the internet, we have the world at our fingertips. We're drowning in knowledge, right? But at the same time, those who are successful are the people who actually act on it. They act on the best knowledge. So we make sure that our clients are those people who are acting on the best knowledge available, so they will achieve their goals no matter what happens in the Middle East, what happens with oil prices, whatever happens in their industry. We make sure that our clients will achieve their goals.
Can you give us an example of how you helped someone like that?
Yeah, so something, if you're just focusing on the investments in a vacuum, you may not think about because you're not getting paid for it, would be cash reserves. And it's so simple, right? Dave Ramsey, who, he's helped my mom, he's helped a lot of people that I know get out of debt. But one of the simple principles that he talks about is having an emergency fund. So I had this client who worked in the oil fields, right? We're in Texas, there's a lot of people who work in the oil fields. And that's a notoriously unstable industry when it comes to job security. As soon as they don't need you, they'll let go of your contract, right? So we planned for that. We made sure he had the exact amount of cash reserves that he needed. We substantiated. So we say, you need this amount of months of non-discretionary or non-luxury expenses, this amount of debt payments, all your insurance premiums, the disability, like everything. We made sure we told him to the dollar, this is the amount you need to have. And then we made sure it got done and said exactly how to fund it. So recently, his contract ended. He had a very high-paying contract, and he was out of work for a little bit. But we had a plan for that. We even had a plan for if the worst happened, because we talk about the comprehensive safety review. We look at what to do if bad things happen. And we had a plan for if he were to lose his job temporarily. And he was fine, and he stayed on track for his goals during that time when he was out of a job, because we had a plan in place, and there was very little panic. It was just like, okay, let's do what we plan to do. So it takes the emotions out of it, and it makes it so that even when life happens, these things happen, you're going to be okay. You're going to hit your goals. That's what we're here for. So good times, but really the plan shines when things go wrong.
And what role does accountability play?
I think about going to the gym. So when I work with a fitness coach, and I've noticed that I work out a lot harder, and I do those extra sets, and I push myself a lot further when my coach is right there. But if I go to the gym by myself, which I did yesterday, without a coach there, it's very easy to be like, I did 3 sets, I made it here, I've done what I need to do. But when he's there, he'll be like, we're doing another set. No, keep pushing. I need you to do like 3. It's a different level. So the accountability piece really is huge. It's hard for most people to hold themselves accountable to the same level they would if there was someone there holding them accountable.
Better performance.
Yeah, better performance. Think about all the greatest performers in the world. Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant. I'm thinking about basketball, but we have the World Cup, the best soccer players. They all have coaches. So it's like this idea of you have someone there holding you accountable, making sure you're staying on track for what you need to do. Because like I said before, it's not just about the information. We all have access to a lot of information, but it's making sure that everything happens when it needs to happen or ahead of schedule.
As a rule, you limit the number of clients you take.
Yeah.
Why is that?
I actually want to put the audience on the stand. I'm going to ask them some questions.
Okay.
So the first question, we're acting like we're in court. So order in the court. How many clients does your financial advisor have? Do you know that? Right. And where do you rank among the clients? Because I remember it's industry practice to rank your clients A, B, C, and D. Are you an A client? If you are an A client, are you aware that you're subsidizing the C and D clients? That they're paying less fees and probably taking up more of the team's or the advisor's attention? And do you think that's ethical? I'm not going to say the answer. I know what the answer is, but do you believe that's ethical for, most of the clients to pay less money but get more of the attention, and you're subsidizing them?
Good question. Post a comment if you want to engage with Joseph. What should our listeners do if they want to contact you directly?
Yep. Just on that, we charge one flat fee for all our clients. It's the same fee for everybody. And if you want to contact us, if you're someone who's aware that it's not just about having the knowledge and information, it's about making sure that your team is acting in coordination to make sure that you get there, call me at 210-444-2128. That's 210-444-2128. We'll have a 20-minute conversation all about you. Whether we decide to work together or not, we'll make sure that's valuable for you and that you come away with 1 to 3 action items that you can take to improve your plan. And that's whether we work together or not. And if we're a fit, we'll take it to the next step and complete your financial roadmap.
And Steve says that it'll be a great experience.
It truly will. I know we are the ones running it, but we enjoy doing it. We love what we do. And it's all about you. So it's not going to be about us saying, we've been in business since this year. We have these credentials. It's really, what do you want to achieve? Why do you want to achieve it? We want to learn about you. And if it's a good fit, we'll take it to the next level and complete your financial roadmap. Also complimentary and also will be extremely valuable for you.
Okay, Joseph, we got to take a break. We'll be right back. Are you confident about your financial future? What if you had a clear financial roadmap and a team holding you accountable to make the best financial decisions no matter what? At Financial Planning HQ, Steve and his sons, Joseph and Jacob, have been helping San Antonio families since 1987 with inspiring, intelligent financial strategies. Whether it's achieving or maintaining financial independence, becoming more tax efficient, or building business wealth, we create a comprehensive, written lifetime financial strategy that's uniquely yours, based entirely on what's important to you. Don't leave your financial future to chance. Call Financial Planning HQ today at 210-685-2722. That's 210-685-2722. And take the first step towards financial clarity. That's Financial Planning HQ, inspiring financial strategies for San Antonio. Remember, 210-685-2722. I'm Todd Marquardt. A lot of people think trusts are only for the wealthy, but that's simply not true. If you want to avoid probate, maintain your privacy, protect your assets, or make things easier for your family, a trust might be exactly what you need. I'll help you understand your options and decide what's best for your unique situation. Let's talk. Call 210-530-4278 or visit marquardtlawfirm.com today. Do it before you die.
9:30 a.m. The Answer.
Welcome back to Talk Law Radio. I'm Todd Marquardt. On the radio, on Facebook, on YouTube, on podcasts everywhere, and on talklawradio.com. Today I have Regina Yockey with me. She's the administrator. Is that your role?
Administrator, I am.
Okay, for Avenues Home Care. So we're going to be talking about older people and home care and the issues involved in the industry and the issues that older people face. But before we get into all that, Regina, I wanted to ask you about your background. Where are you from?
Well, I want to say thank you for having me on. So I'm actually a transplant, originally from the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Grew up in Fort Worth for many, many years. And we moved here now about 18, 19 years ago. And when my husband says, well, let's go back to Fort Worth, I always say, no, this is my home. So we currently are in the New Braunfels area, and I work here in San Antonio as well.
Okay. And how did you get interested in home care or working with older people?
So it kind of just developed slowly. When we got here, I had a young child that just couldn't go into daycare. She had food allergies, so I chose to open up a home daycare. Did that for several years. She finally got to the age to go into kindergarten, and I decided it was time to go outside the home. Threw my application out there and ended up working for a memory care community as a marketing liaison. And from that point on, I'm 10 years later, I'm now the administrator of a home care company because I found my passion for seniors, because that is one of the areas that I think is neglected in this United States is our seniors.
And did you have experiences personally with home care then, or did that come later?
Most of that's come later. There was one little moment that kind of now that I look back on, I wish I would have known what I know now. Years and years ago, my mom had knee surgery, and right at the hospital, that social worker, they come in, they talk to you. Well, where do you want her to go to do rehab? Rehab. Well, what does that even mean? What is that? Who does that? What is it for? I didn't know to ask any of those questions. And so I just said, oh, well, you just tell me whatever you suggest. And so now looking back, if I would have known to go research it, go visit those places, ask around, my decision probably would have been completely different.
Most people, when they hear rehab, they think about the Betty Ford
Yes.
alcohol rehab.
Yes.
But what you're talking about is rehab to help get those muscles strong after surgery again.
Yeah, so a lot of people don't realize 2 days, 3 days in bed for our seniors really creates atrophy in those muscles. And so they want them to go to a nursing home rehab. And in that rehab, it is called short-term rehab. And they'll have them there from anywhere from 14 days up to 100 days. And they'll go in and they'll do some physical therapy, occupational therapy, or speech therapy if they need it during that time, because we want them as strong as possible when they go back home. Because when you're in their home, independence is so important.
And that brings up home care.
It does bring up home care because there are times that we find, even with the rehab, they may not just achieve that level that they were at, or they just need a little more time to get stronger. So home care is having private caregivers coming into their home and helping them with what we call your activities of daily living. You'll hear people talk about the ADLs, but they never say activities of daily living. And that means somebody needs help with their bathing, somebody helps getting dressed, even doing your meals or medication reminders. Those seem like simple things, but when you've been in the hospital and you've had a broken hip, some of those things are bigger than what you think.
Right. And so the company that you're administrator for is Avenues Home Care. Tell us about the company.
So Avenues Home Care, it was formerly known as AA Care Services. It was started by an RN nurse over about 18 years ago here in the New Braunfels and San Antonio area. And it has grown. So we have 2 locations that cover 20 counties. We provide home care, which means a caregiver either in the home, in a facility. I even jokingly say we've had caregivers go on cruises with clients because we need help everywhere. And so it's not just in your home. I have veterans that we also service, and they need to make it to their doctor's appointments and to other outings, and they use us both for their VA needs and also for their caregiving needs.
Yeah. And so this caregiver industry, home care, is very competitive. I see a lot of
Yes.
new home care companies popping up all the time. What would you say makes Avenues Home Care set apart from everyone else?
So everybody kind of does the same, right? Everybody can send a caregiver in for bathing, dressing, and meals. For us, we have other areas that we can help somebody. We actually have a licensed home health service line where we can go in and do medication management. We can go in, fill up their medication box, monitor it, manage it, work with the doctors. We also provide care management where we have a lot of clients, their families live outside of the area. Just in general, myself, I just had to go and take my dad to a doctor yesterday, and he lives 2.5 hours from me. So it's not always having family close, so we fill in those gaps. Going to a doctor's appointment, calling the family with a report, that is golden because I've gone to the doctor with my parent and my mom, and the doctor's asking her all these questions, and she's looking at me like, how do I answer that? And if I wasn't there, she wouldn't have known how to say what she needs to say. So for us, we can send nurses in to those appointments where a lot of other companies do not have that level of care.
My mom asked me to go with her to the cardiologist one time, and I didn't really know why. That it was my first time going to the doctor with her. And what I learned is that she needed a translator She speaks English, but she can't hear very well.
And that's
A-
common.
and so from the interaction at the front desk all the way to the cardiologist, I was hearing what they were telling her or asking for from her, and she was just better able to hear my voice with my tone, and she's just used to me.
Yeah.
And so that was actually really important because
Yes.
she would have missed a lot of important information, and the doctor would have missed a lot of important information.
Yeah. And that, literally that just happened yesterday at my dad's doctor's appointment. Super great doctor. But she sat down and she just started talking to him, and she was going a mile a minute, and she's an amazing doctor, but he needs for somebody to talk slowly to him, to look at him in his eyes so he can kind of focus on what she was saying. And so I did find that he was looking at me, well, what is she saying? What is she just, what was that? And I'd have to, literally, I repeated everything she said. It wasn't because of anything different. It was just because I had to say it slowly, look at him, make sure he was understanding what was said.
And so, should somebody wait until they break a hip or develop some acute illness that lands them in the hospital, or is
Yes.
there something that they can do to get started to plan in advance?
That actually is an excellent. So I will say, when I was coming on with you, I was thinking about different things that's so important in planning. A prime example, at one point I worked at a facility, and I had a gentleman, he was doing a tour, and he was like, oh, I don't know if I need this right now. And a lot of people say that, I don't know if I need this right now. And it is that pre-planning. So we talked about it, and I looked at him and I said, you live alone. What's going to happen if you fall? Oh, it'll be fine. I always have my phone. No problem. He was so not concerned. Well, he ended up on my doorstep 6 months later, and in our conversation, I was like, okay, what changed that made you feel like now you need assisted living? And he said, well, I fell, and I was on the floor for 3 days.
Oh,
Yes.
no.
And that's not the first time I've heard that. The other thing is dementia and Alzheimer's. It has become a very prevalent disease in our nation now. And having that proactiveness to know what to do now and be ready for it as it progresses is a big difference, because crisis mode, when you're trying to decide, is it home care? Is it a community? Is it a facility? What is it, a nursing home? Not having to make that decision in crisis mode allows you to really explore more options. And so pre-planning or just having the conversation. I think something I had mentioned earlier was the guilt factor. It's amazing how many times a spouse will look at somebody and their spouse and say, don't send me to a home. Don't ever put me in a nursing home. Well, you don't know how their disease is going to progress. So they may have behaviors. It may be more care than you ever expected. And so you want both people to be healthy, but if you're telling me not to put me in a home and I can't maintain your care, well, now I feel guilty. And that's not fair either. So having these conversations early is so important.
Yeah, that was my mama. She never wanted to go into the nursing home. And it's because in the 1990s, she watched a lot of Dateline, 2020, and 60
The
Minutes.
worst case scenarios.
You remember what was on those shows, the nursing home neglect and abuse?
Oh, yes.
And so my mom did take care of her at home. She was bedbound for the last year of her life. She forgot how to walk when following a hospital stay. And nobody told any of us, hey, we could bring in a caregiver to help her get out of bed and walk around. We thought the hospital wants her to stay in bed, so she did, and that's when she forgot how to walk.
Yes, and that happens often. But having that conversation and pre-planning financially, I mean, that's another key component. Understanding what are payer sources to provide care. Home care, for us with Avenues, is where we can either have private pay, long-term care insurance. Long-term care insurance conversations at my age, have it now. Be ready, because do you want your children to care for you at home, or do you want them to find you a home? It all comes down to that. Or do you want to pick where you want to go? I always say there's some locations that are like living on a cruise ship, but on land. I mean, they are so nice. But having home care, comes at a cost. You need to know to plan for it. If that's what you want, you have to be ready.
And so, do you have certain packages, or is there a minimum number of hours?
So for us, we try to be very flexible with our clients. We do have a minimum of 4-hour shift, but that could be one day a week, once a month, once every 3 months, if that's what you really need. But we try to stay flexible so that they get what they want and need, and it covers their requirements for their service needs at this point, and then they can grow into needing more hours if needed. We just don't want to have to overstaff when they really don't need a full
Right.
24 hours. But we can go as little as 4 hours up to 24 hours, one day a week, 7 days a week. It's very
Okay.
tailored care.
Well, we got to take a break,
Okay.
but when we come back, we'll be talking about the sinners and the saints and home care too.
On Salem News Channel.
Podcasts.
Talk Law Radio with Todd Marquardt is sponsored by the Marquardt Law Firm and does not attempt to solve your individual legal problems upon the basis of information contained herein. Instead, contact an attorney to discuss the specific facts and circumstances of your unique situation. The views and opinions of this program do not reflect the views of the Salem Media Group.
Welcome back to Talk Law Radio. I'm Todd Marquardt here with Regina Yockey, who's the administrator for Avenues Home Care. We've been talking about home care, but we're going to talk about the sinners and the saints. Do you know that song?
I do.
Oh, really?
I couldn't play it.
Right. It's a good song. Do you like traditional church music?
I've had a mix of it. I've gone to some churches that are very pop music, and what I think they call them the mega churches, where it's it's almost like a concert in itself. And then I was raised in the Lutheran Missouri Synod, and so it's very traditional. Very
Okay.
traditional.
That's the church I go to, so that's why I picked that
Oh,
song.
there you go.
Because Martin Luther said we're all sinners and saints. We're born sinners because of what Adam and Eve did in the Garden of Eden, but we're saints because we've been forgiven and absolved. So I like to bring in somebody that's done something bad that I read about in the news. That's the sinner. And then I like to talk about somebody that's doing something good. And this week I read about a guy named Dusty Ray Spencer. He was convicted in 1992 of murdering his wife. He's been on death row for all this time. And on June 25th, he's scheduled for the death penalty in Florida. What's unique about him is he's 74 years old, and so that would make him the oldest person in Florida state history to be executed. And so my question for you is, do you think that the government should have mercy on him just because of his age?
Personally, I would say no. I mean, if he made the choice to take a life, to me, I think he lost his choice. So no, I don't think having a resolve just because of his age kind of just checks marks. Nope, everything's fine.
Right.
Nothing happened. You didn't do anything bad. No, I don't feel like that would be the right answer.
Well, in the Bible, the Ten Commandments, one of them is thou shalt not murder. And he broke that commandment. And in Deuteronomy 19:21, God's law said, your eye shall not pity. It shall be life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, and foot for foot. And so that's about proportional justice, what you were just saying. He took a life, so the government can take his. And in Romans 13, verses 3 and 4, just in case some people think, well, maybe the New Testament changed that. Well, Paul wrote, for rulers are not a terror to good conduct, but to bad. Would you have no fear of the one who is in authority? Then do what is good, and you will receive his approval. For he is God's servant for your good. But if you do wrong, be afraid, for he does not bear the sword in vain, for he is the servant of God, an avenger who carries out God's wrath on the wrongdoer. So I think that your perspective
good message.
is biblical. Okay, let's go back. Oh no, I want to talk about the saints. So is there anyone you know or work with that really cares about older people and provides great care with love? And the reason I ask this is because my granddad lived to be 94 years old, I think. And he passed away during COVID because he gave up. Nobody could visit him. And they would go to the window. I'm turned away from the mic there for a second because I was looking at the window.
He's got us on the 12th floor, so he's definitely looking out the window.
Yeah. So my dad and my uncle, they could visit him and they could look at him through the window and talk to him on the phone, but my granddad couldn't hear. And so he said, forget it. I'm just going to not eat. I'm ready to go home with the Lord.
There was a lot of depression during that time because of the access for family.
And so I would talk to the nursing home staff prior to that when I would visit him, and I would say, take care of my granddad. I really wanted them to follow through with that.
Right.
And so that's why I want to give you the opportunity to talk about some people that you know that would really fulfill that promise.
Well, and just on a side note, we did find that we had a lot of people that were in facilities like that, and they did come back home and chose home care because then that gave them that family access, that one-on-one care that they were needing and they weren't being able to have during that time. So thankfully, we're way past that, don't have that anymore. But, that shows you care and compassion. It really makes a difference for our seniors when they need it. But for saints, oh my goodness, the list could go on for miles. I think just recently it was brought up to me. We had somebody come in and visit, and they had to do what we call a home visit. And during that home visit, they met one of our caregivers. And I have a client, he's currently kind of closer to end of life. And so those needs are pretty intense, and he's not really wanting to eat. He's kind of in that verge of, do I eat? Do I continue? Where's my quality of life? And all of a sudden, the caregiver started singing. And as soon as she started singing, he wanted to eat. And that's what they have to do every time he needs to eat so that, he stays strong, is that my caregiver took that time. But to know that that's what would make a difference, each caregiver gets to know their clients so well, so personally, to find out those little things. I had another caregiver that had a client, she was homeless actually, and her family brought her in, but it's not in, unfortunately, the best circumstances. And so she was living in the garage. I don't know how that all worked out, but it was where we had to care for her, just because that's where she was at. It didn't mean, we could have not do it. We were caring for her. And my caregiver was very concerned, actually went and bought clothes for her and brought donations into her to make sure she was happy and she was well taken care of. I have another caregiver that she only works on Sundays because she has one client that wants to go to church. Every Sunday she shows up and she takes him to church, and that's his passion, his love. Each caregiver seems to find what is the need that the client has that really fulfills their love in their life and makes them content. And I think that's what's important in the home care situation, is that it's one-on-one. When you go into a community, go into a facility, it's one CNA that's caring for maybe 22 people.
Wow.
Yeah, the numbers are a little staggering. But when you get one-on-one care, you know what matters. It's what food do they like. One of my gentlemen, he was a chef, and he actually really kind of almost taught my caregivers how to cook. But that was his passion. He had a garden. The two of them would go outside and they would garden together.
Oh, that's great.
So it's finding the passion of what our clients are. That's what our caregivers do. So when I say I have a list of saints, I think just being a caregiver in general is being a saint. It's a hard job that it's not as enough thankfulness for. I don't think people think of them and how hard being a caregiver is.
Well, the industry statistics tell us that 59% of home care companies are reporting operating with insufficient staff.
So
How do you find enough caregivers, and how do you find these saints? Because in California, they were having a problem with the number one job for felons was caregiver.
Oh, wow. Well, we have to do background checks on all of our caregivers. So we have requirements that, they have to follow. They have to have a certain level of training to be able to be a caregiver with us. And, there are plenty of caregivers out there. Finding the right caregivers, finding the compassionate caregivers, the fully trained caregivers. That's what we strive to do. Avenues is really our mission, is to make sure that our caregivers in the home are the right fit. I even tell our clients, I've got more caregivers. So if you don't like this one, that's okay. You want to feel comfortable. You almost want to feel like they're a part of your family to that extent. So the shortage for us, and we're lucky in one factor is that we bring on clients. So if we don't have enough caregivers, which we have about 200 to 300 caregivers on average, we can start most cases within about 4 hours if we're in a crisis situation. If we have time to handpick everybody, then, after a few days, we can get a client started then too. So we're very flexible because we do have plenty of caregivers to choose from. And we can choose between the kind that are what we call companionship. Love to go. I had a companionship situation where she went to a tennis tournament. The son flew in from New York. He had a tennis tournament. Dad was in his 90s, but he didn't want it to look like dad had a caregiver. It was like more of a companion. But she went, she took care of him while his son was playing tennis, and he was able to be involved and engaged on it.
So the caregiver was about his age.
No, she was younger.
Oh, okay.
But it would almost feel like maybe like the daughter was there with him.
Okay.
But it was just that it allowed him to go. It allowed him to not be stuck at home and not being able to be involved in his son's life.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we got to take another break. When we come back, we'll be talking about legacy. This is Regina Yockey, Administrator for Avenues Home Care. If somebody's interested in having a caregiver or has questions that you might be able to answer, how should they contact you?
So the best way to contact me, you can always contact me directly. My direct number is 830-832-0089. That's Avenues Home Care. You can always stop by one of our offices here in San Antonio, and you can reach out there as well to 210-236-5582.
Okay, we'll be right back. Stay tuned. Are you 100% confident that no matter what happens in the financial markets, economy, or world events, you will achieve your financial goals? If not, we have a process to get your financial house in perfect order and keep it that way forever. Your financial future shouldn't be a guessing game. Planning, advice, organization, and accountability are deliverables you should expect. For over 35 years, Financial Planning HQ has been San Antonio's trusted partner for comprehensive written lifetime financial strategies. Steve and his team, including sons Joseph and Jacob, don't believe in a one-size-fits-all approach. Instead, they create a personalized financial roadmap for you based on what's important to you. As an independent registered investment advisor, they're not tied to any big corporation's products. They work for you, creating inspiring, intelligent financial strategies that put your interests first. Call Financial Planning HQ at 210-685-2722. That's 210-685-2722. I'm Todd Marquardt. A lot of people think trusts are only for the wealthy, but that's simply not true. If you want to avoid probate, maintain your privacy, protect your assets, or make things easier for your family, a trust might be exactly what you need. I'll help you understand your options and decide what's best for your unique situation. Let's talk. Call 210-530-4278 or visit marquardtlawfirm.com today. Do it before you die.
9:30 a.m. The Answer.
Welcome back to Talk Law Radio. I'm Todd Marquardt here with Regina Yockey, Administrator for Avenues Home Care. This is the fourth segment, so we like to talk about legacy.
Oh, it's time for the Talk Law Radio Legacy Spotlight. What's your legacy? Sponsored by Marquardt Law Firm.
Okay, so you know that I'm an attorney. We focus on business and estate law, including last wills, living trusts, and tax-protected inheritance plans. It's all about legacy.
Yes.
So we like to ask our guest about legacy, and that could be something you inherited or something you want to pass down, or values that you've learned from those who have gone before you, or values that you want to leave to those that you love.
That question right there is beyond excellent. I'm going to actually have two answers for it, though. One of them, when you say planning, please plan. I'm not kidding. When I say it is so important to have those documents in place, people don't understand that when somebody can't make a decision, who's going to make a decision for them? And having the wills in place, having everything set up, trust, all of it, how is it going to get paid? It makes such a difference when it comes time to have us in place, because then we know who we need to talk to, who we need to deal with, and we know what their wishes are. So please make that decision. Do it sooner than later. My parents didn't do theirs and didn't do it for a long time, and I have a special needs brother, and I finally had to put my foot down. We have to get this done, because there was no decisions made in place on what was going to happen to him, how it was going to play out. So I'm going to put just that little highlight, because I deal with it all the time. Women are not protected. I'd really like to say women are not protected. The men kind of take care of a lot of these documents, and they're not really telling their wives, how things are going to be done if they were to pass away. And it's just important. So that side
Thank
note.
you.
So, but family heirloom, I really thought about that one. So for me, I'm going to go on a more personal level on this one. I've been married for 29 years, married my high school sweetheart. And I think really for me, my heirloom or what I want to pass on is more of a personal advice. I have two beautiful girls. I have now an amazing son-in-law that's in the Army. And for them in their lives moving forward, what it is to be married. I don't think people value what it is to be married as much anymore. And so my advice, if I could give that to anybody and to have them keep it, is lift up your spouse. So many people get into groups and they're like, oh, well, my wife did this, and they just go on. And it's just kind of it's just sad to hear how they will just break people down. When you're with somebody, lift up your spouse, because maybe your little moment of stress with them is just a moment. But if you tell your friends that they're the worst person in the world and things are awful, then there's a perception that's given. But if you always are encouraging and lifting up your spouse, I think you find you work better together, you communicate better, you have a more compassionate and loving relationship. That I think that's what I want my children to take from me as their heirloom, is more of a personal advice.
That's awesome.
So,
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
What's the second thing?
well, the second thing was the paperwork, those documents. That's really important. But I mean, I think those two are really my two key points for
Okay.
heirloom of what you need to do, prepare in life, and then also love and support.
Well, I want to say something about your wishes. You said make sure people know what your wishes are. So I invented the take care of clause. There are some attorneys when they're preparing legal paperwork, it's only about passing down assets after I die. And I've seen some trusts that don't even address disability or incapacity. I have a whole article for that section. And so if somebody says, I never want to go into a nursing home like my mamaw, we put that into the take care of clause. If they want to stay home no matter what, even if it's expensive, even if nobody gets an inheritance, then that's what we want to help them achieve.
Yeah.
And likewise, you said something about the nice assisted living places being a cruise ship on land.
Cruise ship on land, yes.
Some people have told me that they really want that. They're social butterflies, and they want to play bingo, and they want to go on day trips, and they want to be with people their own age and people to communicate with through their retirement. So that's the take care of clause. And another reason that I invented it is because adult children would come into my office and they would say, I'm the power of attorney. What do I do?
Yeah. Yeah.
I say, well, that's a permission slip. You have to figure it out. And so I started working with existing clients and say, you can do instruction-based planning instead of permission slip planning. Tell them what you want them to do. And we put that in the take care of clause. And it helps to prevent disagreements among their children
Right.
or grandchildren, whoever's going to be taking care of them. I represented an adult child one time. Him and his brother were co-agents under power of attorney. They were supposed to make decisions together, but instead they were making decisions independently. And so one brother would take their dad to assisted living. The other brother would take him out of assisted living and bring him home and pay for home care.
Right.
Well, there's a setup cost every time you do that. And
Right.
so it was expensive. And then they accused each other of stealing dad's money, which I figured out they weren't. They just didn't communicate.
Right.
And
that happens so frequently. I think, again, back to the planning part, I have a client right now. The husband's incapacitated. The wife is incapacitated, but he has all the documentation. She doesn't have a medical power of attorney. She doesn't have any kind of safeguard like that. And if something happens to him, now there's really nothing that's going to cover her. And where does she go? What does she do? Who makes decisions for her? Because she's not going to be able to do that herself. So then you get into the guardianship and the ad
Right.
litem, and so it complicates it. So but having these discussions early in life, even to the point of, can dad drive anymore? Who's going to tell him the keys are going to be taken? We as care managers with our organization at Avenues, we can have some of these hard conversations.
I was just going
We
to
can
ask you
go
about
in,
that.
yeah. So we have care managers that can go in and sit down with families and talk to them like, what does dad want to do? Did you know that? Did you know that he didn't want to go to hospital? He didn't want to go to an assisted living. He only wants to stay at home. He's okay with using his finances for this, or no, this is not what his wishes are. Being a medical power of attorney, can be a big decision. I just recently lost a family member, and they had to make the hard choice. They had to pull the medical power of attorney, had to make the decision, and she passed away. But if that decision wasn't already out there and that knowledge wouldn't have been out there, she could have been on life support for a long period of time. And then the family's finances would have been, completely taken away and utilized for all her care, which is fine. But knowing what her wishes were, they knew what the best next step was. As our parents age, having those conversations, my mom's not able to answer these questions anymore. She has dementia. And knowing that when she had her stroke, she didn't want to live like that. If it would have progressed more, we would have had to make that hard decision. But knowing what her wishes were helped that. It didn't put the burden on me. It put the burden on knowing she's already told me what it was. I know how to follow through. Yes, it's a hard one if that would have happened, but it's a lot easier not to have to wonder what they wanted.
So let's say there's an older person that's living alone, independently, and they have friends and neighbors and distant relatives. How do you know when it's the right time to bring in the home caregiver?
So just having those conversations coming in, if I've had a neighbor come in the other day, her neighbor was having all these issues, and so we went over and did an assessment. I've gone into families and said, you know what, this is a little early. I would love to come and help you, but it's a little early. And you know what? They call me back a year later. We're ready.
What are
They
some of
knew.
the questions on the assessment?
So one of them is, do you need help in home? Do you need help with bathing? Well, do you need hands-on help, or do you just need maybe a standby? Do you need a full assistance on that? So bathing, and when you start seeing somebody have medication errors, that's another really key sign that it's time to call somebody in. We can have a caregiver come in and do medication reminders just on a regular basis. And that alone keeps them out of the hospital. You want to keep them out of the hospital as long as possible. So just a little extra help in home will extend that time for them to be there safe and independent. That companionship helps with depression. They, just somebody coming in and engaging with them once a week, 3 times a week, whichever might be the best, is what's going to make that difference. But coming in and just having that conversation again, I know I keep saying that, but that's what I want to reiterate. It's make it an open conversation. We go in, we talk to them. You put sheets on the bed? Yeah. Well, how long does that take you? Well, it takes me like an hour to do that because my shoulder's kind of frozen, my knee hurts. Well, we can come in 15 minutes and get this done. Or we can do it together, and now it's only a 20-minute exercise. You're doing something, we're doing something, but now you're not tired for the rest of the day.
Right.
Moments like that is what are indicating maybe now is a time to start. When somebody has dementia, there's a lot of pushback having somebody come into the home. I don't know them. Why are they in my house? Why are you telling me what to do? The secret is slowly bring it in. Let's start with 1 day a week. Now we need 3 days a week. Okay, now we've, progressed. Now we need the full week filled with caregiving services. But that's why we're the experts in it, is that we can help guide them to understand, you need 4 hours in the morning, 4 hours in the evening? No? Okay, we need a full 24 hours. We're the ones we see what happens.
And what number should they call?
Our number for our San Antonio office is 210-236-5582. And you can always ask for me. I'm always available.
Regina Yockey, Administrator of Avenues Home Care, thank you for joining me.
Thank
It was
you.
a lot of fun.
Yes.
We'll talk to you later.
All right, bye.
Most families don't realize they have hidden legal blind spots until it's too late. Wills, trusts, Medicaid planning, even protecting a business. These are the kinds of issues attorney Todd Marquardt helps uncover before they become problems. Todd is the host of Talk Law Radio, where each week he guides listeners through the legal challenges families, veterans, and business owners face while showing them the practical steps to protect what matters most. Catch Talk Law Radio, Saturdays at 11 a.m. on 9:30 a.m. The Answer, 6:30 a.m. The Word, and now in Houston on AM 1070 and 103.3 FM The Answer, or anytime on YouTube. Planning isn't just about documents. It's about peace of mind, security for loved ones, and building a legacy that lasts. Don't wait for a crisis. Do it before you die.